I have to say that the moment when Michelle asked me to speak about my images that I made at the laboratory in the 80s, the timing was a bit weird because there never has been any interest in these images at all in my past. And by coincidence, last October, I got invited by a new media venue in Limassol in Cyprus that already exists for 20 years and led by a couple of artists already for 20 years. And it was a very special occasion actually to be there and to see these two people being involved in digital art all their lives as I did. And that was the same feeling I had when I first was invited for this radical software event, and it inspired at that moment. In September, last September, I was doing some kind of a workshop for 3 months in Belgium, where I could make lithos and drawings on very old machinery. And actually, what I did, the first thing that I did there was making on a litho stone an image of two women. Like a patient and someone who cures her, and it was inspired actually by this idea of these radical women gathering, which of course is very special. And what I did was I always noted a lot of in my books when I was in the laboratory, and I had this statement. I could also in the 80s, thanks to my that I was working there in the laboratory, I could go to symposia, like the one in Brighton, one in Munich, I think, I'm not sure, but also in Milan and in Paris several times. So I had a lot of reflections also about what art and science could do with each other. And my idea of artificial intelligence in 1985 was AI is at the right depth where art needs to be these days. The books about and from AI inspire me inexhaustibly and instantly put me in an appropriate mood to create my work, just like some music. It is the most creative milieu of the 20th century. I have to say that the title of my talk actually is the right undepth, because of course at that moment in my life, I was 31 years old, I 33, I experienced all these investigations into knowledge and creativity as going into depth. But now I know that the machine doesn't think, it just makes connections, you know. So, for me, it was the right undepth actually to make all these kind of drawings that I was making there. I will go on. Wait a minute there. And then next, there is also some kind of a thinking about on this one. AI is the link between science and psychology. Philosophy seeks the meaning of existence. AI seeks the meaning of thinking, the maintenance of existence. AI is the link between the hard and the soft and brings us back closer to what we are, animals, and not machines that transforms thinkers into slaves. AI will make us taste the freedom of animals again. So what I started to make actually in the first thing I ever did there was make a face, a sad face. The next one was a happy face. And the next one was actually there were several stripteases. And there is an explanation for that, you know. Because I will show you the striptease and then actually the book that I found while preparing my talk here. I was going into my library because I thought it's an academic encounter. I have to maybe to find some interesting things. And then I found out I still have a book that Luc Steels gave me in 1977. Like Luc Steels is now one of the top people in the world of artificial intelligence, artificial life. And at that moment he was doctorating and he asked me to make drawings to enhance his proposition for the jury because it was a very dry topic. It was a computer simulation of a parser, of a translation machine. So I did that, and he actually gave me a book to study a little bit what artificial intelligence was about. Actually, I think I have to give back the book now because I didn't know I still had it, you know. But it's very good that I had the opportunity to look at it in the beginning of this week, actually, because this thing with sex and technology, there is something about it, this connection, and that's something that I've always also as a child been very interested in technology as a phenomenon. And of course, all the rest is eroticism and sex. So, but anyway, for me, it was some kind of these two things in society, they were very distorted. I'm born in 1951, so I encountered the sexual revolution, which I had my thinkings about. Actually, I didn't. How can I say it? Anyway, I didn't go to bed with everybody, like everybody did in the 60s and 70s, you know. And then at the other end, I was really into reading Wittgenstein in the Sade. At the same time, I had, when I was 20 years old, I started to have a subscription on the New Scientist, and all these things, they were mingling into my head. Of course, it's also a fact that, of course, in 1972, we as art students in the Academy of Art in Antwerp, we had contact. We got in acknowledged with the this tractate of I cannot find name anymore. Wat betreft alsjeblieft? Ja, dat in 72, ja, het is tractaat. Nee. It is manifest for the future. That there is the first thought that there will be an end to the future. Club of Rome. Yeah, this gathering of the Club of Rome, and I was fully impregnated by it. But then coming back to this book, yeah, artificial intelligence, we go on, and then we see a lot of chapters. The last chapter is called Databases and Demons. I don't know if you can read. No, you cannot read. But anyway, it's weird. It's very weird. I cannot read. You have these demons, but then it gets worse. 16 databases and demons. And like there is the scientist, he takes as an example the Bible world. It is here come some facts from the initial world of Adam and Eve. Adam located at paradise. Eve located at paradise. Human Adam. Human Eve. Sinner Eve. The collected facts constitute the database. So it's about paradise, and that, I think it really, I have to say, I think I was really very shocked by this thing. That women in such a book, such a dry book on explaining artificial intelligence in 1977, there was this thing about Adam in paradise, and then there is this darkness that Eve brings on, and that gets them a connection with demons. So it made me kind of angry in a way. So, and when in 1980, I made this booklet because I started, in the beginning, I'm making drawings, that's my core thing, that's who I am. And, but very soon, the installation and sound and then the way it represents itself, my work, I looked at them as theoretical threats that needed some kind of little catalog to help the people that came in to think about to control the brain of the people coming in. So what I did, this was then for one of my first installations here, and what I did was I made the booklet, and I included the very first text I ever wrote on the computer in 1980, because I always refused also to use a type machine as a younger woman, because I knew that when I would learn to type, I had to type letters for men, and I didn't want to type. Of course, I didn't know that nowadays we are always typing, but I still have problems with it. So you can see that I did a lot of mistakes before I could really make proper text. And maybe I'm going to read a little text here. I don't know until what time I can perform here. But so the use of computers has nested itself in my work in a natural way since 1977, when Luc Steels asked me to make a video animation to support his degree on linguistics at the UEA, University of Antwerp. After which he became a doctor and an expert in artificial intelligence, artificial life. From 1983 on, I got the opportunity then to work as an artist in residence in the evenings or in the weekends when there were no students around. So it was only Luc working at his computer and me in this giant thing, this giant, with this gray floor, very uneasy, very dry, very uncomfortable environment. So I thought, let's inject some sex in it. So, wait a minute. Due to the fact that my search through art and the secrets of image making has always run parallel with his investigation in the field of no representation, in the 80s, where art was mostly dealing with art itself, AI was trying to locate the origin of creativity, thinking about thinking. It was an ever-continuing dive for the deeper in the why, in the how. I kept on going there until 1987 in the laboratory, studying their books, trying to master the artist-unfriendly machines in those times. I was very glad, though, to be able to generate images in such a free environment to me, not disturbed by the weight of art history and other dogmatic codes. I didn't have any examples, almost any examples in the art world of women involved with machinery and everything, and being so interested in technology. It's only thanks to Michel that last September I got to know so many women who are having the same kind of mindset, I think. But I'm an artist. I'm not a scientist. That's a difference. Whatever that means. I was very glad, artistry. Weren't the early machines not dissecting the psychological and philosophical constructions of human creativity itself? In the laboratory, my work resulted in a cycle of very simple drawings, which turned out to be the elements of a very private mandala. Indeed, never having wanted to choose between the image and the word, my world was one made of a lot of different setups with no obvious connection. I felt like being a world myself with all these different moons turning around me. Moons that were only there on the visible moments. Working with a machine gave me a very pure idea of the value of images and perception. I became my own study, my own object of study, In fact, working with tangible layers in one single image made a painter of me. When I studied at the Art Academy, we had a lot of contact with students who were both aspirant scientists as well as musicians, performers. By that time, I got very well acquainted already by Wiels when I was 20 years old. I made my first drawings on a very rigid piece of machinery on a symbolics, with a symbolics workstation that could only go black and white and was hugely pixelated. The format that came out of the imagery was always A5, so very small. And very, very blurry and not very interesting as material to make movies with, because the fact that I was working, I learned to work in layers with a computer, made me think of going to follow a course of 16mm animation in an evening school. And that's the result of one of my proofs you see in the exhibition, actually. Because I was thinking I want to make animation movies with these printouts, but since they were so, I mean, you can see it in the proof that is in the exhibition, it's not very interesting to work with, you know. But what I did was I kept on making things and images on the computer there. And I took these paper A5s home, and I used them for a lot of other projects that which I will show you later, in a minute. What interested me from the start is that you can keep on working in different layers, which you can manipulate apart from each other, without focusing on a final result. And of course, I loved drawing my naked women on these highly sophisticated machines, something quite unusual to be done in the sterility of an AI lab. The symbolic gesture of it was a statement and one of big importance to me at the time. I have to say, from the moment also when I entered the laboratory, there were as many women as men in the laboratory. So there you get no problems. So I will now show you in a very quick pace all the other images because I still have 5 minutes. So you will see this is message. Then I started to make castles. Different castles where the image of a woman came in. You have the white, the moon, and horse, and actually they are all different topics of mandalas, and everything is kind of stomach, you know. It has to do with the underworld. This is my book of artificial intelligence, the one that not got stolen, because it was a very important one that got stolen with the array of my drawings, and that's why I didn't know which one came after, and that was the big work in the preparation for the show. They invited me to do a poster for the 7th European Conference on Artificial Intelligence. So I will go on showing it. See, sometimes very beautiful image came out of it, but it's with the black sun. It is a sun of melancholy. And it soon ended like this one. I made at a certain point a video clock where I recuperated the images that I made of Danny, of my husband, the drawings of it. This is in the Fridericianum in Kassel some years ago, and this was with enlargements of the drawings that I made of Danny. This was one of the original, because the originals were actually 7 Super 8 movies that we have been made. I did a performance there, and I made the drawings and film, and then I animated them afterwards. So that's also something that I made a big work of this one. And this is the last animation actually that I did on the computer. that I used for the first time when I could participate in an exhibition in Ghent with Jan Wood. This was I used then things that I made in the AI lab to make a giant decor for a dancer. It's 5 by 10 meters, and all drawn by the pixelated things. Of course, they were very big, like the lines were a bit like that, and I painted them all by hand. You see here, it's I had an overview in 2016 in the Museum Antwerp, and I could show the big ones. Actually, they helped me to restore the decor, and they have it in their permanent collection. I donated it to them. This is a dancer in France. It's also in Hannover, Kunstverein, where I did some, and this is the fifth graft that came after my images that I made with in the AI lab, and this is with vectorial animation. Yeah, this is the swoosh, actually. Yeah, that's it.